Yo, what's up, Cedarcrest? It's me, Justin.
I'm Logan.
I'm Erica.
And this is our YouTube channel. Enjoy.
Easter, a time for fake grass, plastic eggs, these things, chocolate bunnies, and people dressed as bunnies. And then there are the weird parts of Easter, like fake grass, plastic eggs, these things, chocolate bunnies, and people dressed as bunnies, which is interesting. But what does all this stuff have to do with Easter? And if this holiday is about more than candy and wearing uncomfortable clothes to church and lunch with your relatives, what makes Easter happy?
So, have you ever felt lonely? When I was a freshman in high school, I got brought up to play varsity on our soccer team, which was an incredible experience. We were going to playoffs, and I was the only freshman on the team, and I got to be honest, I kind of felt cool. That is until I discovered how lonely I actually felt. We were going to our team's pre-game dinner. We'd go to a teammate's house. We'd all hang out, have dinner, and go to the game. And so we were waiting for food to be served, and everyone decided they wanted to go outside and play basketball. I'm not very good at basketball, but I figured, hey, why not? Let's try it. Let's be a part of the team. I'm the new guy. Let's do this. And so I go, and right away they go, actually, let's play football. We all transfer from the front of the house to the back of the house, and we start playing football. Next thing I know, the ball's thrown my way. I catch it, and everyone runs towards me. They jump on top of me, and as soon as they're all there, I hear a duct tape. They duct taped my arms to my chest like this, picked me up, threw me into a boat, and then pushed me out into the pond. Then they left. And in the middle of this pond, I felt incredibly alone. What's worse is the boat was taken out of water. There was a hole in the bottom of the boat, and I didn't know what to do. Luckily, it was a pedal boat, and so while my hands were duct taped to my chest, I could still pedal my way back to the shore, and that's exactly what I did. Have you ever felt alone? You know, here on 3 at the Threes, we love coffee, and I'm not sure why I'm talking in the third person, because it's just, well, me right now. What I want to do today is I want to teach you how to make the perfect cup of coffee. It's 3 steps, gets you every time. Here's what we need. So, open my bag up. I need my kettle. I need my my grinder. I need my scale. And I need this guy. We got everything? Oh, how could I forget? And my coffee beans. By the way, Walkups, thank you for this. I love it. I am running a little bit low, so, you know, if you feel like throwing some my way, I'm game. Anyway, here's how it works. 3-step process. Step number 1, you need to get water. You're gonna put water in your kettle. Clearly, I have no water source here, but you would fill this bad boy up. You would put it on your stove, and you would let it heat up until it begins to steam. Second step, you put your coffee grounds into your, I don't know why I'm blanking out on this. What's this called again? Yeah, my grinder. I don't know why I didn't know the name of it. Now, this is an important step, because if you get this part wrong, you're gonna kind of have a less than stellar cup of coffee. What you actually want to do is to weigh the amount of coffee that you have in there. So you're gonna look for 25 grams of coffee. So you turn your scale on, and you're gonna put this on here, all right? Actually, let me take the top off real quick. Make sure we're good. Make sure we're at zero. If we're not at zero, then we're kind of in trouble here. Here we go. Open this bad boy up. And you're gonna pour the coffee in. Ooh, a little too much.
3 hours later.
Ooh. Hang on. Yep, it's good. Then again, you'd grind that bad boy up. And that's step 2. Now, step 3, once your coffee is ground up and your water has boiled, you take your cup, put your V60 on top, you put your coffee in, hot water. Now, this is where the magic comes in. There's a formula that I like to use of ratios of water to coffee to time, but it's my secret. So I can't tell you that. But what I will tell you is if you follow the recipe, you will have the best cup of coffee. That's it for 3 on 3s. Until next time. Like you didn't get invited to the party, that you weren't on the team, you didn't, I don't know, go shopping. I don't know what it could be. Social distancing's a thing now, and so 6 feet can sometimes feel like 6 miles. Quarantine, man, you can't see anybody, and if you can't see anybody, then how can you not feel alone? But maybe it's not just even in this modern experiment. What if it was years ago? You felt alone because you looked different than everybody else. Because you sounded different, you dressed different. Maybe you didn't make the team and everybody else did, or you saw things on social media and it left you going, wait, I'm left out. I am alone here. You know, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Either way, you begin to tell yourself this story, and being made in the image of God means that you and I are super creative. I mean, the beginning of the Bible, Genesis 1:1, God created, and as reflections of God, we create too. But sometimes these stories we create in our heads, they're just incredibly creative and incredibly wrong. Usually the story goes something like this. You paint yourself one of 2 characters. Either you're the villain and you're alone because, well, nobody likes you. You've done things that nobody can accept, or you're the victim. Everyone's out to get you and you're kind of taped up, duct tape in the middle of a boat. You know what I mean? What I want to do, though, is I want to actually break down the difference between alone and lonely. See, feeling alone means that there's nobody around you, but feeling lonely, man, you can be in a crowded room and yet still feel lonely, like no one knows you. Maybe a better way to say it is this: alone is having no one present, but lonely is having no one. Lonely can lead to feelings like sadness, despair, doubt, shame, overwhelmedness, hopelessness, and that can all lead us to feel like something's wrong. But check this out. God created you to feel that way. Now, before you go, whoa, hang on, Justin, there's nowhere in the Bible that says God created you to feel lonely. I would agree with you. But look at Genesis again, and you see that when God saw that Adam was alone, he said it's not good. And so he created Eve, a partner for Adam. I mean, we are hardwired to be in relationship with other people. God is the 3-in-1, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and yet he's also one. I don't get how that works out, and maybe you don't either. If you can explain it, let me know. But God in and of himself is community. And so you and I, being reflections of God, are created to be in community. See, there are going to be times in life where you're alone. Social distancing has proved that. But there are times where you're going to feel lonely, and maybe you feel right now like it's unavoidable, but what if it was? Or maybe what we should look at today is, how do you handle that feeling of loneliness? I think back to the first Easter. They didn't call it Easter, it just was, another Sunday. But here the first followers of Jesus, the disciples, they're probably feeling sad, discouraged, overwhelmed, lonely. I mean, the guy that they left everything to follow is dead. They left family, friends, home, jobs. They left hobbies. They left it all to go follow Jesus. And they thought that Jesus was going to take over the world, like he was going to conquer Rome. He was going to ride in on a stallion and he was going to just be the man. But then he died. How can that be? Well, we know how the story goes. We know that 3 days later, he rose from the grave, that he conquered sin and death forever, and that God did far more than just defeat the Roman Empire. But in that moment, they didn't know. Alone and lonely, they sat waiting. Now, we know the life of Jesus because 4 guys wrote about it: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Luke was a doctor, an incredible researcher, and he went and he investigated the life of Jesus, and he recorded that in the book of Luke. But he didn't stop there. He actually went on to go on and record the book of Acts. And the book of Acts is just the Acts of the apostles, like what happened after Jesus. See, the time that Jesus came back from the dead, he rose 3 days later and visited his followers. Man, they were pumped. And then he left to go to heaven again. And on the second time, when Jesus left his followers again, they knew that they were no longer lonely and alone. But let's back up a little bit. Let's back up to even before Jesus was arrested. Sitting at a table with his disciples, Jesus said something that was probably hard for his followers to swallow. He said this in John 16, verse 7. He said, "In fact, it is better for you that I go away." Another translation says it this way: "It is best for you that I go away." Could you imagine hearing that? The guy that you've left everything to follow says, "Hey, I know you left everything to follow me, but it's actually better for you. It's best that I go away." I'm really glad he didn't end his sentence. It wasn't like a period, end of story, moving on. He continued by saying this: "Because if I don't, the advocate won't come. If I do go away, then I will send him to you." Now, the word advocate simply means a helper or someone who comes to comfort, who defends others. And we know today that Jesus was talking about the Holy Spirit. That's the third part of the Trinity: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But the disciples, again, they were a little unclear. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what Jesus was talking about. And they didn't realize that Jesus was saying, "Hey, listen, when I leave this place, I'm going to send the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is going to have the same power that raised me from the dead, and it's going to live in you like it lives in me." So now fast forward. Jesus dies. Jesus raises from the dead 3 days later, conquering sin and death for all of eternity. And then he reappears to his followers. And in moments before he would return back to heaven, Jesus actually said this, Acts 1:8, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. And you will be my witnesses, telling people about me everywhere, in Jerusalem, throughout Judea, in Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." Jesus is referring back to that dinner conversation when he talked about the advocate coming. He said, hey, listen, you're going to go from the neighborhoods to the nations, and you're going to spread the good news that God sent his son to die for you and for me. And here's the thing, the power that lives in me, that raised me from the grave, is also going to live inside of you. It is good news that I go, because what I'm going to send, that's going to change the world. It's interesting. It wasn't until after Jesus went back to heaven, after he left his followers that second time, that the world took fire for Jesus. See, Jesus left the first time, died on the cross, and it was like everyone scattered, but then he came back and said, hey, listen, the power's coming. And everyone was like, okay, let's do this. Because at Easter, we celebrate that we are not alone. Easter is a reminder that you and I are never alone. See, knowing that there are moments where we're going to feel alone, but then knowing that the Holy Spirit lives in you when you decide to follow Jesus, it means two very important things. The first one is this: we can talk to God anytime, any place, about anything. God is with us. He's closer than anything you could possibly imagine. And the second thing it means is this: because of the Holy Spirit, we are stronger than we could possibly imagine. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives in you when you decide that you want to follow Jesus. Now, I want to stop and ponder this question for a second, because I think that in this new era, loneliness is a thing. So where do you feel alone? Where do you feel alone? Not just lonely, but alone. Here's what I want you to do this week. And it could be even moments after you end this video. I want you to have a real and honest conversation. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture that Jesus is sitting right beside you. My son is great at pretending. And so what I want you to do is to pretend that Jesus is sitting beside you and he's actually looking right at you. And I want you to imagine that you are telling Jesus, this is the place that I feel alone. This is the place that I feel lonely. And then here are the words that I want you to hear Jesus say. You're not on your own. I am with you. We are in this together. Friends, we are in uncharted territories. We are in the midst of something that no one in history has ever experienced, and it can be easy to feel like you and I are lonely and alone, but my friends, we're not. When you know the love of Jesus, when you've decided to follow him, you may not have others around, but you never have to worry again about saying you don't have anyone. Jesus is with you. The Holy Spirit lives inside of you. God is on your side. That is worth celebrating. Until next time, peace. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We want to give you a couple of potential next steps. So here's what I want you to do. Pull your phone out, and I want you to do one of the following. If you are a middle school student and you want to stay up to date with what's going on with Cedarcrest students, I want you to text at CS-MS to 81010. If you're a high school student, I want you to text at CS-HS. So that's at CS-HS to 81010. If you have decided that, you know what, I am ready to take my next step, and I've decided to follow Jesus. We want to celebrate with you. So what I want you to do is I want you to text at CS-saved to 81010, because we want to be able to reach out to you and give you some practical next steps as you continue on your journey. If you decide, you know what, my next step is actually to get baptized, what I want you to do is a text at CS-baptism. That's BAPTISM. I can't spell, so I have to check it out. Again, it's at CS-baptism to 81010. And finally, if you're a brand new student and you're like, I don't know what's going on here, what I want you to do is I want you to text at CS, there's a theme here, at CS-I am new to 81010. We can keep you updated with what's going on, get you plugged into a group, and just say hi. So until next time, peace.